everybody. My name is Dakota Dunn, and welcome back to Dunn After Dark. Today, we're going to be covering one of Mary Shelley's poems called The Choice. Mary Shelley is most known for Frankenstein, which is my favorite book of all time, but she also has some poetry as well. Poetry I have not read. Let's change that. For a bit of context, The Choice was written not long after Percy Shelley died, so I'm expecting a poem filled with grief and sadness. Grab yourself something to drink. I'm having some white tea, and join me as we cover Mary Shelley's The Choice. My choice, alas, was had and gone, with the red gleam of the last autumnal sun. Lost in that deep wherein he bathed his head, my choice, my life, my hope together fled. A wanderer here, no more I seek a home, the sky a vault, and Italy a tomb. Yet as some days a pilgrim I remain, linked to my orphan child by love's strong chain. And since I have a faith that I must earn, by suffering and patience, a return of that companionship and love which first upon my young life's cloud like sunlight burst, and now has left me dark as when it beams, quenched in the might of dreadful ocean streams. Leave that one cloud, a gloomy speck on high, beside one star in the else darkened sky. Since I must live, how would I pass the day? How meet with fewest tears the morning's ray? How sleep with calmest dreams? How find delights as fireflies gleam through interlunar nights? First let me call on thee, lost as thou art. Thy name fills my senses, the love my heart. O gentle spirit, thou hast often sung, how fallen on evil days thy heart was wrung. Now fierce remorse and unreplying death waken a chord within my heart whose breath, thrilling and keen, in accents audible, a tale of unrequited love doth tell. It was not anger, while thy early dress encompassed still thy soul's rare loveliness. All anger was atoned by many a kind caress or tear that spoke the softened mind. It speaks of cold neglect, averted eyes, that blindly crushed thy soul's fond sacrifice. Mine heart was all thy own, but yet a shell, closed in its core, which seemed impenetrable, till sharp-toothed misery tore the husk in twain, which gaping lies, nor may unite again. Forgive me, let thy love descend and dew of soft repentance and regret most true. In a strange guise dost thou descend, or how could love soothe fell remorse as it does now? By this remorse and love, and by the years through which we shared our common hopes and fears, by all our best companionship I dare call on thy sacred name without a fear. And thus I pray to thee, my friend, my heart, that in thy new abode thou'lt bear a part in soothing the poor Mary's lonely pain, as link by link she weaves her heavy chain. And thou, strange star, ascendant at my birth, which reigned, they said, kind influence on earth. So from great parents sprung, I dared to boast. Fortune, my friend, till set thy beams were lost, and thou, inscrutable, by whose degree has burst this hideous storm of misery. Here let me cling, here to these solitudes, these myrtle-shaded streams and chestnut woods. Tear me not hence, here let me live and die, in my adopted land, my country, Italy. A happy mother, first I saw this sun, beneath this sky my race of joy was run. First my sweet girl, whose face resembled his, slept on bleak Lido near Venetian seas. Yet still my eldest born, my loveliest, dearest, clung to my side, most joyful then when nearest. An English home had given this angel birth, near those royal towers where the grass-clad earth is shadowed o'er my England's loftiest trees. Then our companion, o'er the swift past seas, he dwelt beside the Alps, or gently slept, rocked by the waves, o'er which our vessel swept, beside his father, nursed upon my breast, while Leman's waters shook with fierce unrest. His fairest limbs had bathed in Serchio's stream, his eyes had watched Italian lightnings gleam, his childish voice had with its loudest call the echoes waked ofEste's castle wall, had paced Pompey's Roman market-place, had gazed with infant wonder on the grace of stone-wrought deities and pictured saints. In Rome's high palaces there were no taints of ruin on his cheek, all shadowless. Grim death approached, the boy met his caress, and while his glowing limbs with life's warmth shone, around those limbs his icy arms were thrown. His spoils were strewed beneath the soil of Rome, whose flowers now star the dark earth near his tomb. Its airs and plants received the mortal part, his spirits beat within his mother's heart. Infant immortal, chosen for the sky, no grief upon thy brows, young purity, entrenched sad lines, or blotted with its might the sunshine of thy smiles, celestial light. The image shattered, the bright spirit fled, thou shinest the evening star among the dead. And thou, his playmate, whose deep lucid eyes were a reflection of these bluest skies, child of our hearts, divided in ill hour, we could not watch the buds expanding flower. Now thou art gone, one guileless victim more, to the black death which rules this sunny shore. Companion of my griefs, thy sinking frame has often drooped and then erect again, with shoes of health had mocked forebodings dark, watching the changes of that quivering spark. I feared and hoped and dared to trust at length. Thy very weakness was my tower of strength. Methought thou wert a spirit from the sky, which struggled within its chains but could not die, and that destruction had no power to win from out those limbs the soul that burnt within. Tell me, ye ancient walls and weed-grown towers, ye Roman airs and brightly painted flowers, does not this spirit visit that recess, which, built by love, enshrined his earthly dress? No more, no more, what thou that form be fled, my trembling hands shall never right thee, dead. Thou liv'st in nature, love, my memory, with deathless faith for aye adoring thee, the wife of time no more, I wed eternity. 'Tis thus the past, on which my spirit leans, makes dearest to my soul Italian scenes. In Tuscan fields the winds in odor steeped, from flowers and cypresses when skies have wept, shall, like the notes of music once most dear, which brings the unstrung voice upon my ear, of one beloved to memory display, past scenes, past hopes, past joys in long array, Pugnano's trees, beneath whose shade he stood, the pools reflecting Pisa's old pine wood, the fireflies' beams, the azalea's cry, all breathe his spirit which can never die. Such memories have linked these hills and caves, these woodland paths and streams and knelling waves, fast to each sad pulsation of my breast, and made their melancholy arms the haven of my rest. Here will I live, within a little dwell, which but a month ago I saw full well. I dreamed and pictured forth the solitude, deep in the shelter of a lovely wood. A voice then whispered a strange prophecy, my dearest widowed friend, that thou and I shall there together pass the weary day, as we have done before in Spezia's Bay. As through long hours we watched the sails that neared, o'er the far sea their vessel ne'er appeared. One pang of agony, one dying gleam of hope led us along beside the ocean stream. But keen-eyed fear, the while all hope departs, stabbed with a million sting our heart of hearts. The sad revolving year has not allayed the poison of those bleeding wounds, or made the anguish less of that corroding thought, which has with grief each single moment fraught. Edward, thy voice was hushed, thy noble heart with aspirations heaved no more. Apart of heaven resumed, past thou art become, thy spirit waits with his in our far home. This one was honestly heartbreaking. Shelley speaks, in this, to the loss of her husband Percy, who drowned in a boating accident, and to the loss of her children. We start the poem with Shelley lamenting that her choice is had and gone, with the last autumn sun setting. The visual immediately brings to mind death, with winter and night, both symbols of death, approaching. She says her time wandering is ending, and now she seeks a home. She and Percy had spent much time traveling around, and now she sees this as over. She then calls Italy a tomb, a reference to where Percy died. Italy was important to Shelley, even before Percy's passing, and we will see more of it in this poem. She says to leave that one cloud beside one star in the else darkened sky. This, to me, brings to mind her one child who survived to adulthood, the one star left in her life. She wonders how to sleep with the calmest dreams, and how to wake up with the fewest tears, which just, you can feel the grief and pain she experienced. The second stanza, Shelley calls out to Percy's spirit, and says her heart once seemed impenetrable, but was ripped open by misery. She asks for forgiveness. Maybe she feels she never really opened her heart to Percy in life, and only in death does she find it open? I'm not sure. In the third stanza, we see some nature imagery, common among romantic writers. This will be common in the poem, but it takes on a much different tone here. I'll get to that later, though. In the fourth stanza, Mary speaks to the deaths of her children. Her sweet girl sleeps on bleak Lido. Shelley says she resembles him, as if she cannot even bear to say Percy's name in the wake of his death. This stanza is heart-wrenching. Shelley describes her son's life before his death, traveling Italy with his mother before he is taken by grim death. We see here why Italy was so important to Shelley, and why it now seems to her a tomb. In the relatively short fifth stanza, Shelley speaks to another death, a child of hers, I assume, who died young, one with deep blue eyes. Her and Percy could not watch the buds expanding flower, she says. In the sixth stanza, Shelley speaks to Percy's death and her trust in him. Shelley calls Percy's weakness her tower of strength. She says she believed Percy to be a spirit from the sky who could struggle but not die. Shelley put all her faith and strength on Percy, believing him to be with her forever, but that strength was based on Percy's human weakness. She says Percy lives in nature, love, and her memory. Again, we mention nature, and I feel in this poem, nature takes on a more saddened tone. Nature is not something Shelley awes at, but something she longs for, the past she lost. In the seventh stanza, Shelley says her spirit leans on the past. She uses nature and the Italian countryside to bring out these memories of the past. Nature, here again, is being used to represent the past Shelley longs for. In the last stanza, Shelley says that the revolving year has not allayed the pain. Time may pass, but the wound of her husband's death is just as strong. In the very last section, we get a mention of Edward, the man who died with Percy on the boating trip. She says that he is waiting with Percy in their far home, waiting, I assume, for Shelley. This is, like I said, a heartbreaking poem. Shelley's lament at the loss of her children and husband. The grief is felt in each line. Thank you all for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and leave a comment with your thoughts on the poem. As always, sweet dreams.